Welcome to this captivating dive into the life of one of television's most cherished comedic stars. In today's video, we'll explore how this fun-loving entertainer grew up in Toluca Lake, California, soaked up Hollywood's atmosphere, honed his comedic craft at Hollywood High, and rose to fame through unforgettable sitcom roles. From his iconic portrayal of Jack Tripper on Three's Company to his heartfelt dedication as the voice of Clifford the Big Red Dog. Discover the remarkable journey of a performer who put laughter at the heart of everything John Ritter did. John Ritter grew up in Toluca Lake, California, with the gentle strum of guitars and the hum of film reels wafting through the house, courtesy of his father, Tex Ritter, a Western star whose deep, steady voice was once a staple of American country music, and his mother, actress Dorothy Faye. From the time he could walk, he found himself knee-deep in scripts and guitars, jokes and show tunes, neighbors and friends forever dropping by to greet the Ritter family. He must have soaked up every bit of that atmosphere, the discipline of a working musician, the sparkle of Hollywood society, and the constant encouragement to find his own way in the arts. Over the years, he discovered that his greatest thrill came from making people laugh, a skill he would polish until it dazzled audiences on both big and small screens. At Hollywood High School, he already had the comedic bug. Classmates remember him as gregarious, brimming with jokes, yet warm and kind enough that he was elected class president. He had an easy charm, the kind that drew both laughter and genuine respect. Between classes, he'd test out humorous bits on peers, who soon realized he had a natural gift. But anyone who took a closer look also saw the seriousness beneath the pranks. He studied drama fervently, honing timing and expression with a determination that belied his age. This mixture of earnestness and playful banter became one of his trademarks. Even as he perfected comedic pratfalls, he always grounded them with a sense of humanity. By the time he enrolled at the University of Southern California, his path felt set. He threw himself wholeheartedly into theater, soaking up everything from line delivery to stagecraft. He trained under Stella Adler, the famous acting coach who emphasized tapping into an inner truth, a quality that resonated with him. He might have been a comedian at heart, but he refused to rely on superficial tricks. He wanted his roles, no matter how silly, to feel honest. Picture him in a small studio in Los Angeles, practicing scenes that called for heartbreak or triumph, peppering them with the comedic asides that would one day define his performances. Surrounded by classmates who aimed to become dramatic stars, he carved out his niche, layering comedic physicality on top of the method approach that Adler championed. During his time at USC, though, tragedy struck. In 1974, his father, Tex, died from a heart attack. Losing a parent that young shaped him in ways he didn't fully articulate at the time. Tex had always been a larger-than-life figure, the cowboy singer with a booming baritone. But beyond the fame, Tex was also the man who told him, "Learn to laugh at yourself. That's comedy's heart." He carried those words with him, determined to honor his father's legacy of hard work while forging his own path through laughter. The loss affected him deeply, yet it propelled him forward. If anything, the weight of that grief heightened his understanding that life can be painfully short. So you might as well chase your dreams while you can. And if you can make people laugh along the way, even better. Armed with this resolve, he started nabbing small TV roles in the early 1970s. If you'd been flipping channels in 1971, you might have spotted him in an episode of Hawaii Five-0, blending earnestness and comedy in the midst of a police procedural. Or maybe you recognized his voice from The Barefoot Executive, 1971, a Disney film about a TV predicting chimpanzee. Voice work, it turned out, suited him just fine. Sitting in a booth, microphone close, he'd infuse every line with buoyant energy. Though these early gigs didn't make him a household name, they broadened his toolkit, teaching him how to hit comedic beats in both live action and animated settings. He treated every job, no matter how minor, as an opportunity to sharpen his timing. By 1975, he landed a tiny spot on the Mary Tyler Moore Show. Even in the briefest appearances, he showed a remarkable ability to blend into a comedic ensemble. No small feat when standing next to Mary Tyler Moore, whose sitcom was already a cultural phenomenon. Observers noted his knack for physical comedy, the kind that later became a signature feature of his acting style. It was as if he had a built-in sense for pratfalls, eye rolls, and head tilts that could turn a mundane scene into a comedic gem. Producers and casting directors began to take note, sensing that he was on the verge of something bigger, but no one could have predicted just how big that next step would be. In 1977, ABC introduced a new sitcom called Three's Company. The premise was a tad scandalous for its time. A man pretends to be gay so he can share an apartment with two women, avoiding the landlord's conservative scrutiny. The network took a risk on this farcical setup and a risk on him to play Jack Tripper, a bumbling, good-hearted chef whose antics would anchor the show's comedic chaos. The result was sitcom lightning in a bottle. Week after week, viewers tuned in to watch him tumble over sofas, stutter through awkward explanations, and pull off a full repertoire of hilarious facial expressions. He brought charm and genuine affection to the character. Jack Tripper wasn't just a clown. He was a kind-hearted dreamer who happened to get stuck in ridiculous misunderstandings. The ratings soared. By 1980, Three's Company boasted around 28 million weekly viewers per Nielsen, an astronomical figure for any era, let alone the restrictive three-network landscape of that time. Suddenly he was everywhere, featured in magazines, interviewed on talk shows, praised by critics who saw that his comedic prowess wasn't just goofy or one-note. He delivered comedic lines with a sharp sense of timing, but could also pivot to heartfelt sincerity in a blink, granting the show a warmth that kept audiences hooked. Many credited him specifically for elevating Three's Company from a risque premise to a sitcom classic. By 1984, he clinched an Emmy for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Comedy, adding a Golden Globe that same year. He'd arrived as a comedic force on par with television's best, a star so bright that the show essentially revolved around his ability to be both clownish and relatable. Though he poured much of his energy into Three's Company in the late 70s and early 80s, he also ventured into film. In 1980, Hero at Large hit theaters, featuring him as a struggling actor who unwittingly becomes a superhero figure for the city. The box office returns, around $15 million, Box Office Mojo, weren't blockbuster level, but they proved he could carry a feature film and offer more than Jack Tripper's comedic blueprint. Fans enjoyed seeing him in a different setting, broadening their sense of his range. Throughout the 80s, he kept dabbling in these cinematic opportunities. Real Men, 1987, co-starring Jim Belushi, was a zany buddy comedy that blended espionage with whimsical humor. Neither film soared to iconic status, but each underscored his versatility. If you needed a leading man who could do physical comedy, deliver quick-witted dialogue, and still anchor a story emotionally, he was your guy. The hunger for more, Jack Tripper, however, remained so strong that ABC tried a spin-off after Three's Company ended in 1984. Called Three's a Crowd, 1984 to 1985, the new show explored Jack's life living with a serious girlfriend and her disapproving father. Despite his unwavering commitment, he reprised Jack with all the pratfalls, nervous energy, and boyish grin. Audiences didn't latch onto it, and the show lasted just one season. He wasn't discouraged. By then he understood that entertainment is cyclical. One minute you're riding high, the next you're searching for the next opportunity. He took the setback in stride, maintaining that comedic optimism that had come to define him on and off screen. The 90s ushered in new roles that let him step further from Jack Tripper's shadow. Hearts Afire, 1992 to 1995, placed him in Washington, D.C., working as a political aide in a comedic environment that intermingled romance, bureaucracy, and his brand of endearing cluelessness. Though the show didn't dominate the ratings, it had a respectable run, and fans of his comedic style remained loyal. He continued exploring different mediums, too. His voice work, largely a footnote in the early 70s, took center stage again when PBS launched Clifford, the Big Red Dog, in 2000. As the voice of Clifford, he enveloped preschoolers in a warm, friendly tone, effectively making the giant red dog a symbol of kindness and curiosity. For many families, bedtime was incomplete without a Clifford story, and his performance earned him 4 Daytime Emmy nominations. It was yet another demonstration of how effectively he could tailor his comedic warmth to audiences of any age. Meanwhile, his personal life was evolving as well. Back in 1977, right when Three's Company was revving up, he'd married actress Nancy Morgan. Together they had 3 children, Jason, born in 1980, Carly in 1982, and Tyler in 1985. The kids grew up around sets and showbiz events, watching their dad juggle comedic stardom with real-world parenting. Jason and Tyler would go on to become actors themselves, while Carly pursued music. For nearly 2 decades, he and Nancy appeared to have a stable Hollywood marriage. But in 1996, they decided to divorce. Both cited the strains of constant work and the typical pressures that can accumulate when 2 performers build separate careers. Despite the split, they stayed amicable, determined to co-parent with the same warmth he displayed so naturally on screen. Not long afterward, he found a new chapter of love with actress Amy Yazbek. They had a daughter together, Stella, in 1998, and married in 1999. Friends described their household as playful, bursting with spontaneous laughter and comedic banter. Living in Studio City gave them a cozy suburban environment that balanced the buzz of Hollywood, perfect for someone who thrived on the energy of performance, but also needed a family oasis. He showed no signs of slowing down. Even after a 2001 health scare, when chest pains during an 8 Simple Rules rehearsal turned out to be benign, he remained resolutely upbeat. Joking to Entertainment Weekly, 2002, that he was tougher than I look, he kept the comedic ball rolling, forging ahead with new projects and philanthropic efforts. He found particular resonance with United Cerebral Palsy, participating in telethons and raising over $1 million. Variety 2003, often cracking light-hearted jokes to encourage donations and boost morale. In 2002, a new sitcom opportunity reignited the flame that Three's Company had first sparked. ABC cast him in 8 Simple Rules, for Dating My Teenage Daughter, later shortened to 8 Simple Rules, where he played Paul Hennessy, a loving father wrestling with the perplexities of raising teenage daughters. The pairing with Katie Sagal created a comedic synergy that drew an audience of around 15 million at its peak, Nielsen. The role felt like a mature extension of his comedic persona, still prone to exasperated expressions and comedic missteps, but now woven into the relatable foibles of modern family life. Younger viewers, many of whom knew him only as that guy who voiced Clifford, discovered his comedic brilliance in a primetime format. Longtime fans, on the other hand, got a chance to see how he'd grown since the days of Jack Tripper. He was still unstoppable in his physical comedy, but there was also a parental tenderness that added a new depth. Around this same time, he made a guest appearance on Scrubs, 2002, playing the main character's father's look-alike. Despite the role's brevity, Variety, 2003, praised his ability to fuse humor and heartfelt emotion seamlessly. It was a reminder that he could elevate even the smallest parts into something memorable. And in an entirely different comedic arena, he took on a role in Bad Santa, 2003, a dark comedy that placed him alongside Billy Bob Thornton's raunchy mall Santa character. His portrayal of Bob Chapesca, the anxious mall manager desperately trying to keep a lid on the chaos, showed a willingness to explore edgier territory without losing that comedic twinkle. Though he didn't live to see the film's impact, audiences who caught it upon release celebrated his unexpected foray into darker humor. The movie grossed about $76 million worldwide, a testament to the compelling, if irreverent, comedic lineup. In the midst of this revitalized television success, his personal world thrived too. His children were forging ahead in their own pursuits. Jason and Tyler both tried their hands at acting, each discovering pieces of their father's comedic timing lurking in their own style. Carly, a musician, carried forward the legacy of Tex Ritter's melodic streak, albeit in a contemporary context. Meanwhile, his marriage to Amy Yazbek blossomed. Friends witnessed how they teased each other with one-liners, turned mundane routines into comedic skits, and seemed genuinely happy to be navigating life's ups and downs together. By all accounts, he was in a good place, proud of the career he'd built, excited about the comedic horizon still out there. Then came September 11th, 2003. While rehearsing for an episode of 8 Simple Rules, he began experiencing severe chest pains. At first, doctors misread the situation as a heart attack. The real culprit was an aortic dissection, a tearing of the aorta that can prove fatal if not diagnosed quickly. He was rushed to Providence St. Joseph Medical Center in Burbank, but the damage was catastrophic. His death at the age of 54 stunned the entertainment industry, his family and fans worldwide. It felt unthinkable that a man who had so much energy and comedic zest, someone who just the day before had been delivering lines and cracking up a studio audience, could be gone in an instant. The shockwaves rippled far and wide. Co-stars, including Katie Seagal and the younger cast members who played his children on 8 Simple Rules, found themselves grappling not just with the loss of a colleague, but of a father figure on set. Suzanne Summers, Joyce DeWitt, and other Three's Company alumni openly mourned. The hospital's misdiagnosis became a focal point. His family sued Providence St. Joseph Medical Center for $67 million, eventually settling for $14 million. Reuters, 2008. While the legal battles were messy and public, they also shone a spotlight on the dangers of aortic dissection, something many people had barely heard of until his death. Amy Yazbek emerged as a passionate advocate for heart health, establishing the JohnRitter Foundation, ritterfoundation.org, to push for better research, awareness, and early detection. In subsequent interviews, she spoke bravely about how crucial it was to channel her grief into something that could save others from a similar fate. The abruptness of his passing meant he left behind projects still in development, most notably Clifford's Puppy Days, 2003 to 2006, a PBS spin-off of Clifford the Big Red Dog, featured episodes he had already recorded. Families who tuned in during those years heard his distinctive, comforting voice, unaware initially that he had passed away. Once they did find out, many described a bittersweet feeling, as if each new episode was a posthumous gift. Children who loved Clifford were told by parents that the voice actor was a man who had made the world laugh for decades. His final film role, Bad Santa, was released just a couple of months after his death, its comedic darkness underscored by the real-life tragedy that had just befallen one of its key actors. In total, he had amassed more than 100 acting credits. While he never followed in Tex's musical footsteps, never putting out chart-topping hits, his comedic star power shone just as brightly in television and film. He won 5 Emmys, including some posthumous nominations. Today you can find Three's Company streaming on Pluto TV and 8 Simple Rules on Hulu, meaning a new generation continues to discover his comedic genius. His pratfalls, silly faces, and wide-eyed, self-deprecating style still land decades later. Even younger audiences, who might initially tune in for a retro laugh, often find themselves binge-watching, charmed by his timeless comedic presence. All the while, his personal story keeps resonating in the public sphere. Hollywood High School has a history of star alumni, but teachers who were around at the time still talk about how he stood out, not just because of comedic flair, but because of genuine kindness. The 2024 PBS documentary, JohnRitter, Behind Closed Doors explored that dimension further, piecing together old family videos, interviews with friends, and behind-the-scenes anecdotes from co-stars. One moment in the documentary shows him clowning around at home, dancing with his children in the kitchen while wearing a ridiculous apron. Another segment reveals how passionately he advocated for cerebral palsy research, hosting telethons, and personally thanking volunteers one by one. That sense of service and gratitude ran so deep that it influenced each person he encountered, on or off set. His first wife, Nancy Morgan, and his children with her, Jason, Carly, and Tyler, appear in the documentary too, speaking openly about his balancing act, the unstoppable comedic energy at work, the fatherly sweetness at home. They recall a man who would show up to parent-teacher meetings with the same willingness to laugh at himself that he brought to late-night talk shows. For them, the glitz of Hollywood was always secondary to the fact that their dad was, first and foremost, a kind-hearted goofball who loved them deeply. Meanwhile, Amy Yazbek and Stella discuss the later years, describing how he embraced fatherhood a second time around with the same playful spirit, determined not to miss a single chance to share laughter. After his passing, 8 Simple Rules decided to continue the show for a time, incorporating his character's death into the storyline. The cast, still reeling from the real loss, delivered performances that mirrored their genuine grief. In a way, the show provided a channel for fans to mourn alongside them. It was an unusual blend of reality and fiction. Watchers saw the heartbreak etched on each actor's face. The writers and producers felt it was a crucial way to pay tribute, to acknowledge how integral he had become to both the fictional family on screen and the real crew behind the cameras.